Me again, Mark Dale of RX Safe Marin. I am going to be picking his brain again today without distraction. I'm very excited about it. So thank you for joining us again, and thank you for coming on again, Mark.
You bet. My pleasure.
So let's jump in. I know we're on a time crunch today. You brought a pretty piece of crystal. Let's start with that and tell me about it.
So this is what's called the Celebrate the Uncelebrated. And they give it from the Behavioral Health Recovery Services, HHS Marin County, about every 2 years. And they pick a number of folks in the community who've plowed away on different things. And it's their way of celebrating what they call the uncelebrated. Folks who generally just quietly do their thing.
Yeah.
And so it's a really sweet thing. And I shout out to DJ Pierce, who used to be the substance abuse administrator for the county until she retired. But she was just a really big thinker and wonderful, wonderful person who just wasn't afraid of jumping in and doing the work.
Right.
Because this is roll up your sleeves, get dirty work.
Absolutely.
This is not clean work.
No.
So
It's not pretty.
this was a very sweet, award along the way.
Sure. That's fantastic.
It's more important than the Emmy stuff.
Right.
This stuff is,
It means something.
yeah, exactly.
It means something. It's not. Yeah. So, in keeping with that vein, rolling up your sleeves and getting dirty and really getting into, as our Mr. Michael Pritchard would say, solutioneering what's going on. We haven't really talked about the depth of the programs that are implemented and that need to be implemented, or the resources that maybe haven't been put in place yet.
Okay.
Do you feel like, because I know RX Safe Marin has been around for how long now?
Since about 2014.
Okay,
is when
so
they-
it's still fairly new.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say that they are the organization in partnership with Health and Human Resources and Marin Schools? They're the ones, this is the core of really tackling this issue of opioid addiction and suicide in our youth in Marin County?
Yeah, I think what's happened is when I first started, there was actually very little. It was kind of like when you kind of saw the landscape. The big daddy in the county was something called Novato Blue Ribbon Coalition, which was up in Novato, and they were DFC funded, which means drug-free communities. It's out of the White House ONDCP Office of National Drug Control Policy issues these grants throughout the nation. And Novato Blue Ribbon had this grant, and it's about $500,000 over a 4-year period. So it's a nice sized grant to help the community and the coalition do important work. And then you're able to renew it once for an additional 4 years. I'm not sure they got that renewal. There's certain criteria you have to meet. And when you're doing that, there's a lot of check the box. It's administrative work.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that. The county had started 2 mini coalitions. One was the San Rafael Community Coalition, and they routed some funding through San Rafael Police Department.
Okay.
And on that one, I was co-chair with an excellent person. She was actually the one running the Boys and Girls Club in San Rafael. And she would kind of take care of the back end, I'd take care of the front end, and we were really a team. And then there was one in Twin Cities that was funded through the Twin Cities Police at that time that became Central Marin Police Authority. So it was a way to try to get some boots on the ground, so to speak.
Okay.
What's happened since then is there's been a lot of coalition build out, is what we call it.
Okay, what's that
So in that terminology, Alcohol Justice, which is a very good organization in the Canal,
Okay.
they got the DFC funding basically to, and they started something called the San Rafael Alcohol and Drug Coalition.
I'm familiar with that one.
And so that one is DFC funded.
Okay.
So that's that grant again, and I think they got the renewal. So
Nice.
they basically will have been 8 years for a nice span there. The other DFC funded one is something called Marin Healthy Youth Partnerships, which came initially out of that Twin Cities Coalition grant that I mentioned. So that kind of grew into more and more, and that kind of handles Redwood High School, Drake, Tam High School. It's kind of the Ross Valley more.
Area.
Tam less, but Drake and Redwood. And they've done a lot of things to help county-wide.
Okay.
And so one of the booklets that I'll bring next time I come in,
Yes.
which is the Let's Talk booklet. And this was a real game changer because this booklet is direct mailed to all 6th grade and 9th grade parents in Marin County. The parents, directly mailed. And I think it's so important to get that drug education into the hands of the parents.
Right.
Because a lot of parents are just clueless.
They don't know how to talk to their
Exactly.
kids about it. Yeah, we've talked a couple of times about those pamphlets. What's the bounce back? What's the word I'm looking for? Like what's the return on investment on those? What's the feedback that you're getting from parents?
Phenomenal, because what's also happened with it, it's not just the booklet is mailed out. There's actually a series of different community presentations that kind of bring the booklet to life.
Okay.
And the seeds of this booklet actually came out of an organization called Community for Concern. And it was a white kind of boilerplate, drugs. And the only thing that the local community got to do was put in like resources on inside covers. And Marin County was buying these from the organization back east. And the feedback on that was it was pretty sterile.
Yeah.
The feedback on this, because it was written from the ground up, really for Marin County parents.
Specifically, yeah.
And it was 9th grade parents originally. And then we were getting so many parents with kids going into middle school that they just were like clamoring to get drug information.
Yeah.
And so that's the drug side.
Right.
The suicide aspect is that there's something that's been built in the last few years called the Suicide Collaborative. And it's housed underneath the BHRS, Behavioral Health and Recovery Services.
Thank you.
At HHS.
Okay.
Health and Human Services. So the collaborative is really meant to get an idea here of how we can interdict youth suicides. And the other aspect to that,
Did you say interdict?
yeah, meaning that how can you get in there and stop it from happening? Because
I've never heard that word before.
the world of suicides, when you're looking, I'll say more in the adult world, because the problem with youth world is you've got teenage brain,
Yeah.
which teenage brain is a moving target.
Absolutely.
It's not stabilized yet.
Yeah.
But adult brain, when you're talking a 50, 60-year-old man
Right.
whose life has maybe turned out the way that it hasn't happened the way you wanted it to.
Right.
Might have financial stresses or may
Right.
have a medical problem that comes up.
Right.
And he's like, game over, I'm out.
You've seen those stones in the water before, whereas with a kid brain, what
Exactly.
might look like a placid lake is actually riptides underneath, and
Right.
those riptides change at any given moment.
And with almost any suicide, you've got something called a pain quotient. So what is the pain level?
Okay.
And if somebody can intercede when that person is at such a high pain threshold, and sometimes it's as simple as just saying, how you doing?
Right.
What's happening?
Yeah.
Just connection.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people don't do that,
Yeah.
and you miss it.
Yeah.
And then the person who's struggling terribly inside,
it's done. They get past their
Yeah.
red line.
yeah,
I feel like there's been a big turn in parenting style in the last 5 years or so, and really the opportunity for parents to learn how to communicate with their kids as human beings has been a big shift. And learning how to do that, how to simply ask and mean it and receive the information without wanting to fix it, like being able to ask your kids. I'm hoping that because there was such a big increase recently, like in the last, 10 years or so of youth suicide attempts, that hopefully as younger generations of parents or older generations of parents who are willing to do the work figure out how to connect with their kids before those pain thresholds, and just even recognize that there is such thing as an emotional pain threshold for an 11-year-old.
yeah. Well, let me ask you that before you were a mom,
Yeah.
once you had your first baby,
Yeah.
how did your world change?
We don't have that kind of time. It was huge. I dealt with very bad postpartum depression after my first child. So
How'd you get through it?
I just did.
Okay.
I just did. I had some really amazing friends who kept me and my baby alive for, we were living with an entire other family. So it was my best friends and her family, my husband and I, our little one, and then her man friend and her little one. Our kids were 6 weeks apart. So we were pregnant in the house together. We gave birth in the house together.
Okay.
And
That must have been fun.
it was. It was also life-saving. Like at one point, I was so far into the dark that she was nursing my child for me because I couldn't. Like that level of support system. When I came out of it and got to a point where I was ready to start thinking about what kind of parent I wanted to be, because I was really just surviving at that point. That was when the work really started. And it's gentle parenting now. There's a name for it, or conscientious parenting, or all of these things. And having a second child and not having to deal with that kind of level of depression, to be conscious of the attachment that I wanted to have and to foster that relationship younger, and all of these moving parts. I have a 9-year-old now, and I have a preteen, essentially. He's rolling right into that, and, I try to check in with him so regularly because he is have big emotions. He has full-blown adult emotions, and he's just trying to figure out how to manage those. He's actually going to the beach with his godmother this weekend to go throw eggs into the ocean because he's got some pent-up frustration.
Oh, I like that.
And I asked him, like, "Are you angry?" He said, I think I am angry." And he's 9. I was like, "Do you want to talk to me about why you're angry?" He's like, "Not right now." I was like, "Do we want to go break things and talk about why you're angry?" He's like, "Can we do that?" I was like, "Yeah, it's cathartic." He's like, "What's cathartic?" I'm like, "It's releasing, but you have to yell. You have to speak on the things that are making you angry and frustrated." And then I was like, "Are you frustrated with me?" He's like, "A little bit." I was like, "Would you like to go with your godmother so you have a safe space to talk about me and your dad?" He's like, "Yes." I'm like,
Love it.
absolutely. And it's those pieces that keep kids, like, that's my goal, is to give him the space to bounce off the walls. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, he's not whirling into infinity, like, not knowing, not grounded, not anything like that. But I wonder about our community as a whole doesn't have a system like that in place. Like,
Correct.
That's, the whole it takes a village thing. Like, there was a point, and there are points in other ethnicities and communities where, everybody's just kind of peeking in on kids. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't matter if that kid is yours or your cousin's or your baby's mama's on your great granddaddy's side. Like, if you see a kid who's looking down, you check in.
Yep.
And I feel like that is it's a very like a kind of mentality in Marin where not my kid, not my problem.
But, it's that classic thing of when you see somebody in a wheelchair, you're taught at a young age, don't look. Or if you see somebody with a abnormality, something wrong, don't look, don't stare. Yeah. And it becomes that kind of problem. Yeah. I like what you said because I'm a firm believer in something called 100% screen, which is problematic for the systems to do. Because, and where this is coming from, is that when you have a school site that has had multiple suicide attempts, or murder, or attempted murders, and we do have one in Marin County that is very high on the list, I believe you should do 100% screen. That means have a touch with each student.
Yeah.
Each student, give them a card.
Yeah.
If they're in stress or distress, or if they have a friend who they're worried about, you got to give them that access point.
Yeah.
That's the only way this is going to work for this school site, because there has been other programs that have been brought in to Marin County. I'm just spacing at the moment exactly what the name of it was, but it was opt-in, opt-out. It was a program created at Cambridge University, I think. But Teen Screen is what it was called. But the problem is opt-in, opt-out. Okay, so you've got this thing where, okay, maybe 30% of the kids are going to get screened.
Yeah.
What's happening with the other 70%?
70%.
And I think also snitches get stitches.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
That's a hard one.
And, girls, I know a number of girls who have tried so hard to help a girlfriend who's in distress.
Yeah.
Then it blows back on them later. You snitched on me. You snitched on me. No, I was trying to help you get to a better place.
Yeah.
I was trying to help save your life.
Yeah.
But they don't quite get it. And also, when you have a school site that has had a suicide or multiple, the thing that gets missed all the time is the near misses.
Yeah.
How many other kids attempted?
Yeah.
And that's held really tight because this is juveniles.
Right.
Juvenile world
Yeah.
is protected very much as it should be.
Yes.
But names and numbers and really understanding how big of a problem you have at a school site
Right.
is usually closely held by administrators, unfortunately.
Right.
And it is a difficult thing that until, unfortunately, once you have 1 or 2, 3 suicides, then all of a sudden all the bells and whistles go off and all the
Everybody runs in. The house is already
Yeah.
burning down.
the mental health teams come in, the assessment teams come in
Right.
and try
But
to
the
give
house
grief
is
counseling.
already burning.
Yeah. So that's a serious component. And I think, when Michael Pritchard has seen this at so many school sites himself,
Right.
you got to at some point say, you know what, we got to do a stand down. We have to shut things down a moment, regroup.
Yeah.
And that's where I say 100% screen is the way to go. The blowback I've had on that is you're opening up a can of worms. Manpower costs. Because again, once you touch a kid and you do find there's a problem there, are you ready to take on the problem? There might be abuse at home. There might be other abuse in that kid's world. And so how much manpower is that going to take?
It should take all the manpower it takes. That's
I agree.
so frustrating.
I agree.
Like, if you can commit an entire team to study a sausage that doesn't explode in a microwave, that's a legitimate thing,
True.
then you should be able to commit a team to, as expansive as it needs to be, to mental health for our youth.
I agree.
Like, it's like that's really disturbing. Like, that there's a monetary value on the mental health of our children. Like, how worth it is that we keep little Johnny alive.
Exactly. I mean, cost assessment, cost mitigation, there's all these kinds of terms that are used.
Yeah.
But the reality is the reality. You could have a kid in distress. You could have a borderline situation where something's not diagnosed yet.
Yeah.
Or they're right there, they're borderline. They're borderline Asperger's. They're borderline autistic. They're whatever that borderline is.
Right.
Bipolar. It's a moving target again with teenage brain.
Right.
But wrong day, wrong moment with some bad luck, you can have a kid bringing a gun into school who's in high distress.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an incredible story from last spring that Mary Jane Burke shared with the School Law Enforcement Partnership. I sent it to her, and she luckily shared it with everybody else, but it was about this active shooter event that occurred. And after this had occurred, we okay? Mm-hmm. The teacher knew who this student was and was able to just hug her. It was a female shooter, which is unusual, too, because usually it's male. Mm-hmm. And this young lady was having a horrifically bad day, obviously. Mm-hmm. She'd already shot a number of students. I don't know if anybody died in that incident, but the teacher just hugged, and the police came in, and, it was just brutal. But it's an incredible video to watch.
I would. Where is it? What is it?
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put that up on our YouTube for you guys once it gets sent, so you can take a look at it. That's
the courage that it took of that teacher, but that teacher is a mom also, and she knew this young female student.
Yeah.
And it was just in that moment that she said, you know what, she just gave her a hug.
Yep.
And then the police came in and took her away.
Yeah.
But again, high stress, when you got to understand at a school site, and especially high performing, hard charging schools, pressure cookers, how are kids supposed to deal with that?
Especially when they're told that they shouldn't be stressed out.
Yeah.
They're kids. Why would their life be stressful? I got that a lot as a kid.
Exactly.
What do you have to be stressed out about? Like, as I'm in 3 honors and 2 honors courses, 3 APs courses, and doing sports and music.
Yep. Well, if you ask any of the parents who have lost their kids to suicide, and that kid was in a pressure cooker, that parent will tell you, I don't give a crap if my kid had gone to Stanford, Harvard, wherever.
Yeah.
I would rather have my kid at a community college and my kid at home right now.
Yeah.
But they lost that opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's earth-shattering.
Yeah. I can't even imagine.
So I love what you do with your son. You've shared a little bit about your conversation with your son and how it's you give him a chance to really, and you listen.
I have to. I am on a journey, a healing journey myself. I am a huge believer in breaking generational trauma. A lot of what has been passed down in the Black community is not healthy as far as child rearing goes. A lot of the things that I experienced are, as a child, were my stepping stones for what not to do as a parent.
Good.
And one of the things that I learned, my first suicide attempt, I was 14. 14? No, 12. I was 12. It was pills and gin. And I'm really surprised that I woke up. My mother did not take me to the hospital.
Really?
Really.
Wow. That's amazing. What
happens in the home stays in the home.
Yeah. What drove you there? What was the...
There were a lot of mitigating factors about what was going on in my house, what was going on with my parents, what was going on. I had a lot of stuff, a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions, a lot of frustration, a lot of fear. And that was a wall that I hit. I think I had one more cry for help after that.
Okay.
And then it smooth transitioned into self-harm for like the better part of a decade.
Okay.
And out of that, all of that learning, all of that like turmoil and trying to find ways to cope, I found that my friends were my safe space.
Yep.
And we have this weird dichotomy in parenting where you can't be a parent and a friend. And I don't think that is a true statement. I really don't. I think like you can walk into your boss's office and treat your boss with the respect and candor that you would a person of authority who is over you and your place of business. You can do that. And then you can sit down with your boss and have a beer on Saturday. Those are two different environments. Those are two different situations. And you understand or you discuss what the parameters of those relationships are in context. And I feel like my son and I have a very good rapport. He understands that I am his parent and that there are parameters under which, as his parent, I must behave and I must set examples.
Yep.
And he also understands that the other side of parenting, because I don't necessarily know if he would say that we are friends, but he knows that the other side of me parenting him is that I am a safe space.
Yep.
I am a learning space. And I give him a reason, like, learn how to say no and mean it. Do that with me. Learn how to be angry and articulate your anger in a way that works. Do that with me.
Wow.
If you don't want to talk to me, don't tell me you're fine. Tell me you don't want to talk about it.
Ra, do you know how few parents do what you're doing? Few. I mean, I can't even. What you're saying is so big that I think it's wonderful.
So important.
Your son is so lucky to have you.
Thank you. It's so important. We put these beings into the world and expect them to function without giving them the training and without giving them the opportunity and the chance to fail in a safe space, which is what Desire to Inspire Studios does. Yep. We want our youth to have the opportunity to try something new, fail, get the support, learn the lesson, and try again. And that's what parenting should be for kids. If you're upset, be mad, rail, use your voice, get loud, and do it at home in a functional space where you know you are loved and you are cared for and you will not be punished for feeling your feelings.
No, I love it. And we just hit the Lunar New Year, and it's You're the Tiger, yes. I'm a tiger.
Are you?
But oftentimes you have tiger moms, is a term, but then also you have helicopter moms. And it's like, don't fall, don't trip, don't fall. Well, sometimes you got to trip,
Yeah.
get up, dust yourself off. You might have hurt your knee a little bit. You put a
Yeah.
Band-Aid on. You know, it shows you resiliency,
Yes.
how to get up and survive a challenge and move forward.
Yes. Yes.
But there's such a fear of failure
No.
in adults and with our kids.
Yeah.
I mean, when you live in a community where perfection, no, stop it.
It's not. It doesn't work. I heard a line that says kids should be allowed to do things dangerously as safely as possible.
Oh, I like that.
Kids should be allowed to do dangerous things as safely as possible. You know.
I love it.
We unfortunately, I don't get to be in charge as I want today, and we do have to cut it short. But there's just so much to dig into. There's so much to dig into. Do we get you back next Thursday?
Yes, and let me hit one last thing.
Yes.
So, because to kind of close this out.
Yes.
In the world of teen attempts,
Yes.
females attempt more, succeed less. Boys attempt less, succeed more. So it's a very interesting dynamic there that occurs. And so thank God, however close you came, that you're with us, you're a mom, you're successful,
Thank you.
and you're beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Mark.
you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us for Donuts for Breakfast. That was really emotional for me. No, I'm okay. We will see you next Thursday with Mark Dale of RX Safe Marin again. Please like and follow. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're on. Like us on Instagram. And ask questions. Check us out. Comment on our Instagram and ask questions if you have questions for Mark, if you have questions for us. Please do so. We want to hear how you feel about our Donuts for Breakfast and about this particular topic. Your voice needs to be heard, and we want to share it. We'll see you next time. Have a good day.
Thank you.